Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are violinist Armen Anassian and actor David Proval. I said it wrong, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Anassian. Violinist, conductor, concertmaster. Armen Anassian was born and raised in Armenia, where he began his musical studies. His family moved to the United States when he was 15, and here in Germany, and with a legion of brilliant teachers, he pursued his career. He's been featured with many, many symphony orchestras as a soloist all over the world. I heard him play Korngold's Violin Concerto at Disney Hall, in D major, right. Opus 35, which was written in 1945, I think, by Korngold. And the conductor was the California Philharmonic's Victor Venner. And he said it was one of the most difficult pieces to play, and that you wanted to play it very much.
That's true.
Because of its difficulty?
No, because it's so beautiful. Composers like Korngold and artists like Korngold really appeal to my sensibilities. You know, turn of the last century Vienna art is really speaks to me, and this music is really beautiful.
But Korngold lived here, didn't he?
Yeah, he came here in 1938 and stayed because of the Anschluss. The annexation of Austria to Germany, and the situation for Jews in Europe was becoming very perilous. So he stayed here. Fortunately, he got a lot of work, and he wrote a lot of film music.
Oh, he was writing film music.
He was writing film music, yeah. They brought him here, the Warner Brothers brought him here in 1938 to write for Errol Flynn's, I think, Robin Hood.
Oh.
He wrote the score for Robin Hood. He'd been here once before, but it looked like he couldn't go back anymore. The situation was very dangerous for him.
But was that kind of a down step for him to be writing for film music? Did he feel that he wasn't composing? He was friends of Piatigorsky.
Yeah.
He was friends of Jascha Heifetz.
He was a child prodigy. You know, before the war, he was one of the great composers of Europe, loved and admired for his skills. I mean, composers like Mahler knew him. And, you know, he was revered as a great composer. As a teenager, he was already writing operas. By 20, he had a couple of operas that were being premiered at the same time in Europe. So when he came to Hollywood and started writing film music, he felt like it was, to answer your question, maybe it was a step down. I don't think he really felt that way, but others did. So he did have, I think, a bit of a complex about that.
That's why I wondered if it was hard on him, because he was so brilliant from what you're talking about.
But the thing is, you know, people forget that he wasn't copying anyone. You know, it's not as though as if he is a modern composer copying other film score composers.
He was composing.
He was Hollywood. He invented the Hollywood style. Him and Steiner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, these are the pioneers of early Hollywood scores, you know?
I see.
So to say that he was writing film music, yeah, but he was sort of inventing film music.
I see,
yeah?
I see.
So,
but why was it so hard? Why is it so difficult? There's so many notes in that?
Technically, it's really difficult.
Technically,
it's really hard. And he wrote it for, he was writing it for a fellow, immigrant, Huberman, who was a great violinist, but Huberman died before he even saw the concerto.
Oh.
Then Heifetz's agent suggested that he write it for Heifetz, and so Heifetz got involved. And Heifetz was a fantastic virtuoso. And once he got involved, he started making suggestions how to make it harder and more difficult.
Really?
Yeah.
He wanted more challenge?
Yeah, he wanted more of a challenge. And so he wrote this really, really hard piece.
Because I know the conductor, when Victor Venner said, this is one of the most difficult concertos to play.
Yeah.
And then I was like wondering about your fingers. I was like really worried what was going on.
Yeah, it's a hard piece, but you know, there's other hard pieces too. And Victor's prone to hyperbole a little bit. You know,
I love the way he talks before those symphonies. It's so
he enjoys himself.
Engaging.
Yeah.
And it makes you know the artist. I mean, I felt like I knew you. And your parents were sitting in the second row. I mean, he said your parents were there. Your father was a great conductor. In Armenia and all over Europe.
Yeah.
But here he was sitting in the second row. How did you feel that he was there?
You know, that was a real treat when I later heard the CD and I heard Victor's words because I was warming up backstage. I didn't hear him say all those things.
Oh.
I was really touched, you know, he didn't have to do that. My parents were also very touched. And it was a thrill for me to have my folks in the second row.
But you used to play with your father. When your father conducted, I mean, were you thinking my father would have told me to do this? I mean...
No.
No?
No,
you'd already practiced.
That was not part of the stress equation. You know, there's a lot of other factors that were stressing me out.
What were they? What were they? I know. I wonder what they were.
Well, anytime you're, you know, in a huge hall and with your colleagues behind you, with this orchestra of, you know, other musicians, people you love and respect, and you know, a couple of thousand people in front. And the night before, I had played the concerto at the Arboretum in front of 5,000 people.
Right.
Every time you do that, it's live. It's not in the studio where you can correct mistakes. You can do something over and over again. It's just stressful. No matter how much you prepare, you have butterflies. You know.
Well, I was watching you, and I was like, what if he breaks a string? Has that ever happened?
That's happened.
And what happens?
Well, you grab the concertmaster, the first violin's violin occasionally, and you finish the piece. Or if it's impossible, you stop and you change. And
you grab it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
It's sort of a tacit understanding.
Do you think, now, what about the violin? I was just going to ask you, do you have several violins you play on?
Well, I have a couple. But the one I play on all the time is this instrument that was made for me about 15 years ago by this really, really talented guy. It was, Mario Morales is his name. He's very much in demand now. He has a 10-year waiting list. But when we were friends, and at that time we were neighbors.
He lives here in Los Angeles?
He lives in Altadena, yeah.
I read a story about him.
Yeah. They just escaped all those fires, unfortunately. They're now for a few weeks they're homeless. They didn't burn down,
really?
But they haven't gone back yet.
But he talks about how you wet the wood and you do you're always carving them, and I don't know. There's so much to it. There's so many steps to it.
I don't really concern myself with all that.
But that's your favorite piece?
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite one?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed is you were wearing rings on your finger and on your thumb. And is the thumb something that is special?
Well, it is to me. I tell you, it's not one ring. It's 3 rings, 3 little rings, and each one has a name in it, and they're the names of my 3 children. And so I've had...
But I noticed and I thought, oh, this is a new technique. This is a violin technique I don't know about.
No, it's not some trick, believe me. It's just, it's my way of having my kids with me 24/7. That's all.
That's fantastic. And did you wipe the violin while you were playing? Does it get damp?
Between movements.
Between movements? What do you do?
Just, wipe off the rosin off the strings a little bit.
Oh, because I see. And how do you take care of your fingers? Because your fingers are your livelihood, right?
Yeah, I don't do anything special. I just have to be careful not to, play ball with bigger guys than me or something like that. But
you don't do any exercises or anything?
No, just practice. Practice a lot. Keep them limber,
And do you eat certain foods or anything? Armenian food?
Yeah. Well,
You always have to have dolma and pilaf to make your fingers work, right?
Yeah. Well, my mom is my dad too, both fantastic cooks.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. It's amazing that I'm not huge. But I've learned a lot from them, and I love our cuisine, of course. And whoever I meet falls in love with my parents, and
Yeah, they were very charming. I spoke to him after the thing. Before we leave, I want to talk about your travels with Yanni, because Yanni came to you and you were his conductor, his concert master. And had you known him for a long time before you went with him?
No, it was strange how that happened. I think in 1993 I was called to do this. And I had just moved to Los Angeles, and not much work, just freelancing here and there. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And then I got to know him, and after just one small tour in the U.S., well, actually it was like a 2-month tour, he also he understood my talent, and he learned that I was also a conductor, and he asked me to become his conductor. So I then did that for 4 years. Conducted.
You went to Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
You were in the Forbidden City.
In Taj Mahal.
Taj Mahal. How did he arrange all of those in all these wonderful spots?
He's a very resourceful, charismatic guy.
He's a singer, right?
He's a keyboard artist. He's a Greek keyboard artist, so he calls himself world music composer.
Oh, I thought he sang too. Does he sing?
I think of late he has singers joining
But
him.
when you went, it was totally musical?
No, it was instrumental. I just conducted his orchestra and got off the podium and played a few things now and then. Big shows we did. I conducted hundreds of concerts for him. But to answer your question, how he nailed down concerts like Taj Mahal, he was very well known, and he's talented melody writer.
In Europe or all over?
All over, and he's got a lot of money, and he's got great representation, and he found his niche, if you will.
And does he continue to do that?
I think he's still doing that. I haven't done that for over 10 years now.
Did that open a lot of doors for you or not? It did not?
No, it wouldn't, because
Did it slow you down in your career, do you think?
That's really, the jury's still out on that. I'm not sure.
I think anything is good, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, any exposure is good. I can never begrudge him those 4 years, but I'm a strictly classically trained musician. So I veered a little bit when I went and did that. I'm not saying it's lesser. It's just a completely different genre, which was easy for me.
But this is interesting because you are totally classically trained, and yet you're a musician.
Right.
You're a studio musician.
Yeah.
You're called into the studio, but it's not all classical in the studio, is it?
Well, no,
it's film
not
music.
in the strictest sense. But film music is. Some of the greatest music written today is film music.
That's really interesting.
I really
Hans
feel
Zimmer
that way.
and John Williams
they're
and those
great composers. They're really, really talented composers.
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, great. They're like groundbreaking people.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you have to look at it in that respect.
Yeah, I feel in the end, music is music. I love jazz. I love classical, obviously, and then I love great film music. I love opera. That's my main.
I know you play in the opera, don't you? You play in the LA Opera.
Yeah, tonight I'm going to play Elixir of Love, and
we're
starting rehearsals for Siegfried. And we're doing the
You
Ring.
play that? You play the Wagner?
Yeah,
oh, that's beautiful.
I've been playing in LA Opera since 1993.
Oh, that's what we're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled to be a part of that.
And James Conlon is a great conductor.
I adore him. He's a great musician. Hardest working conductor I've ever met in my life.
And a lovely guy, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
You know him? Huh?
Oh, I've just met him with David Hockney when David came to do Tristan.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play in that?
Yes.
Oh, I was there at the dress rehearsals.
I'm tenured violinist in that group, and I've been playing there for 16 years. Not only that, when Hockney did Tristan first time around in 1984,
yes,
Olympic Arts Festival,
right?
I was there.
And so was I.
I was a 20-year-old that had a girlfriend who was a soprano. She took me. She said,
right?
"You gotta see this."
Oh, you mean you just went to see it?
I went
you
to
didn't
see
even
it.
play in it.
No, I was a young guy. I went to see it, fell in love with it. And I said, I really want to play here one day.
Oh, I'm going to tell him when I see David. I'm going to tell him how excited the violinist
is. He's so
is.
talented. That guy is so talented.
Isn't he? He's great. So are you. Thank you for coming today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks
I'm
for
so
having
happy
me.
to see you. And thanks for watching this part of the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're going to be back with David Proval, and you're going to love him. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with actor David Proval, who was born and raised in Brooklyn, the son of actress Clara Katz. His career was launched in Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets, opposite Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. He's equally known for his work in TV, on stage, and in film, notably Henry Jacquelim's Irene in Time, Queen of the Lot, and Charlie Mathau's Baby-O, which you helped co-write.
Yes.
So we know him as Richie in The Sopranos.
Yes.
And David, did you always want to act?
Always.
You always did?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was from your mother.
Well, my mom, yes. But never really said, this is what I want you to do, or influence us.
No, but she must have been so great.
But she was the funniest woman I've ever known. Can always get a laugh out of anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Was she?
Oh, yeah. It's just a,
Was she very hip? Was she like really knew what was going on?
yeah, she was very hip and very progressive. And
That's what it takes, really, doesn't it? From like, she would have been in her 90s.
Well, she'd be 103 now. She passed away about 10 years ago.
Oh, she
93,
did.
yeah.
Oh, so but during that time, women like her had to really be aware of everything. Strong women.
That's right. That's right. And she was a single mom.
Oh, she was a single mom.
And in those years, yes, she was.
So that was way ahead of her time too.
Well, yes, very progressive and very courageous lady.
Did you go to acting school? My hero, that's sweet.
She is. She was my hero.
Did you go to acting school?
Yeah, of course. I studied. Yes, I studied first with Uta Hagen in New York at HB Studio. Wonderful lady. Fell in love with her. Not easy. You know, it's an easy thing to do. Sat at her feet for about 4 or 5 years. Well, Actors Studio after Mean Street, I was invited into the Actors Studio as kind of what's called a working observer. I didn't. I auditioned a few times along with guys like Harvey and Keitel and those guys. We all kept getting turned down, and I said, no. Actors shouldn't audition for actors. If we want
in front of other actors, you mean? Or
yeah, you have to audition.
That's how it was.
Although it was the High Priest, it was Lee Strasberg. You know, it was the High Priest. But they invited me in to be a working observer. That's what they called it. And that was wonderful, and always will be, to be in that place.
Did you go to college before you got there?
No,
or you didn't have a.
I went very briefly to Brooklyn Community College.
Did you? But
not in drama, not in drama. No, retail distribution.
Oh well, you know how to retail yourself. How did you start learning how to develop these characters? Because did you know you were never going to be a leading man, so to speak, or a romantic lead?
I never thought of terms of leading, or I just always thought of what that character offers me, what part of me responds to the character. That's all I think of. And what's the play? What's the play? What am I housed in here? But leading or not leading, it never came to mind.
So you just developed your characters, but you worked with great directors. You've worked with great directors.
Oh yeah, Marty Scorsese. First, nice way to begin. Mark Rydell. I've done 3 movies with Mark Rydell.
He's great, isn't he?
I've done 3 movies with Peter Hyams. I've done movies with. I better mention the directors. And now Gary Imhoff.
Gary Imhoff. What about Alex Rockwell?
Alex Rockwell did 3 movies with Alex. Wonderful roles. Wonderful roles.
John Landis.
John Landis.
Shall I remind you?
Yeah, remind me.
And Peter Maddock.
Peter in Medoc and Romeo's Bleeding, and I also did a play with Peter in Chicago.
Yeah, so here you're an Irish cop in Peter's Romeo is Bleeding.
Right.
You're Lenny in John Landis's Inappropriate.
It was a dark comedy. It was a vampire movie with.
Oh, that's right. Okay, right. And a pill popper.
In
4 Rooms?
In 4 Rooms. That was the 4 directors,
yeah, that was
Alex
great.
Rockwell. Yeah, Allison Anders. I was in the room where I tied up my wife, who was Jennifer Beals, because I was suspicious of her and the bellboy.
Oh, yeah, the bellboy was around, wasn't
with
he?
Tim Roth.
Yeah, yeah.
Tim
Roth,
Roth.
that's right. The bellboy was around.
Yeah, that was fun.
And
what?
And Snooze?
It was
You
Snooze.
were
That
in
was
the
the
Shawshank
Shawshank Redemption.
Which was a Academy Award.
Well, yeah.
I mean, how great was that?
No, I have just wonderful experiences and wonderful movies, and I've been very lucky.
You were nominated as a Best Actor for Paul Williams' Nunzio. In Toronto.
In Toronto Film Festival.
But these are all different. Irish, cops, mean guys.
Yeah, I played a rabbi on West Wing.
Oh, rabbi, right.
I played a rabbi on West Wing. No, I've been very lucky. When I look at that thing in the computer and somebody says, you better look yourself up, you don't know how much you've done, there's like 100 movies and TV shows. But what's right now what I'm involved with.
Yeah, let's talk about Henry Jaglom.
I have fallen in love with this play.
Just 45 minutes
to Broadway.
Endearing,
love the characters. We have Gary Imhoff directing, who
Gary's been on Broadway.
Is a treasure. He's an actor, director, treasure combination for actors to have. At least for this kind of actor.
Is that good for you, who plays like the tough guy? I mean, he comes from a musical kind of background.
It's good because here's what's good about that, is that I think that he will keep me away from my comfort zones.
Oh, that's what you look for, right? Challenges.
That's right.
I see.
And I don't want. And being an he being an actor, the director, I have faith that his antennas will be very sensitive to when the actor goes to their relaxed comfort zone place and robs themselves of other possibilities.
I see. That's what happens.
That's what happens, yes. And especially, in the last few years, and the Soprano thing has been
it's
enormous.
Richie. You're Richie on The Sopranos, but but that's kind of like a mean guy. One of those other characters that you've played before.
Well,
no,
enormous variety of characters. I played a character, Nunzio. A Universal Relief. Jennings Lang produced it. I played a retarded man. I know.
How'd you do that? That's when you got the award in Toronto.
I did a lot of research, right, and spent some time at the West Covina Adult Retardation Center, and it was a very moving experience to spend time with.
But that
these beautiful souls
makes you a better actor too, doesn't it? When you're looking for different things like that.
Hopefully, that I'm not a great big time research guy. I'm really not. I had to there because I didn't want to fall into the cliche.
But when we get into like working with Jaglom, you've worked with him a lot. You've been in a lot of his films. Has he written those parts for you?
This one he wrote for me.
This one, the play.
Right. And at first I resisted it because it felt too close to the skin. And Gary Imhoff said to me, he wrote this for you, not about you, David, which is a wonderful thing to say. Because
not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you, it's for you.
Yeah.
And I said, I got when you come to see the play, which you will, because we're going to help you,
yes.
and then we'll take you for a drink, and then we'll eat some good Armenian food.
Because we all love each other now. Right. We're like part of this group. Well, we love Henry because I think Henry's brilliant.
He's genius. He has a genius. He has a real, for film-wise, his films, right?
Yes. Have you ever collaborated? When you're doing your role, do you try? Is there some kind of times when you say, I wouldn't be saying something like that in this character?
Of course.
And, you do, yeah.
And then he's very available for that. He's very available for that, especially in film. This is our first play. I've done 3 movies with Henry.
And what happens in
Hollywood
movies?
Dreams. And movies, I mean, he'll give you a structure. There's a plot line to follow. There are key lines to say, so the movie.
Just things that they want.
But he'll let you go, and if you're going too far or too out of he'll stop and say, this makes no sense. He can be.
But that's for movies.
Movies.
That's for film, right?
But
what happens on stage?
No,
Gary,
that doesn't happen on stage.
No, because here's Gary directing you. You
Yes.
can't go off anywhere.
No. The actors need their cues, and you can't go off into tangents.
Yeah, that's right.
No, not on stage, because you can't stop and say, excuse me, audience, we're going to do that again. People don't.
Right.
Oh, you can, but you can't.
So it's
You
at the
shouldn't.
Edgemar Theater.
Edgemont Theater.
Yeah, right, in Santa Monica.
In Santa Monica.
And what role do you play? What role did he write for you?
Yeah, what role did he write for me? Is an actor in not quite the twilight of his years, but
Pushing?
And member of this zany, wonderful, quirky, lovely, endearing family. You love these people. I mean, they're, but adorable. And it's a great cast. Jack Heller,
Tana Frederick.
Tana Frederick, who is amazing acting.
David Proval.
David Proval, he won't get in the way.
But Gary Imhoff's an actor too.
David Garber.
Your director's an actor. He's not in it though.
No, he's not in it. He's directing.
And what about Henry Jaglom? He's an actor too.
Oh, he's acted, yeah.
But he's not in it.
No, he comes around, sniffs around, snoops around a little bit, and Gary is nice and indulges him a little bit.
What kind of director is Gary? Does he?
Well, like I said before, I describe him as an actor's director.
But what does that mean?
That means that when you're stumbling around, he's not the kind of director who will impose and then tighten up the actor, or he knows what the struggle is because he's an actor himself and recognizes it when he's going through it.
I see.
And you can only have that when the man has been in the trenches.
I see. They understand what you're going through.
He's been on the fire. He knows what it is. There are some directors who can do great damage when.
I'm going to leave Gary for a minute and go to another director, Charlie Matthau, who was Walter's son. And you did a film with him. Did you collaborate in any way?
Yes, I co-wrote it with my wife.
Oh, you did?
We're in post-production now. I won't get into the craziness around this litigation that is always,
is that the problem? Except we know Charlie's done a lot of films.
Charlie's done about 4 or 5 movies, and I love Charlie a lot. And Charlie and I are going to be working together again on an Elmore Leonard movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And the other thing, you did Sonny Liston with Robert Townsend.
Yeah,
When was that?
I did that with Robert Townsend a year ago up in Toronto with Ving Rhames playing.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And great role. Also kind of tough guy. But these are the kind of tough guys who, still water runs deep. They're not, I like playing those guys.
You're a guy. And then going back to Broadway, because we talked about Gary Imhoff being on Broadway, and you were on Broadway,
I was on Broadway
with John Lithgow.
With John Lithgow in Requiem for a Heavyweight.
And that's why the Sonny Liston thing brought me to Requiem.
Yeah, 2 boxing things I've done in my life. Yeah, that was a one.
Do you like Broadway?
Oh, God.
You like the stage more than film, or what?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yeah, there was a time when people would ask me that question, and I'd say, well, it's a whole different experience, blah, 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 blah. But at this point in my life, being back in a play, I've not done a play in 6 years.
Oh, I wondered about that, because you've been so tied up with The Sopranos.
Yeah, but I right after The Sopranos wrapped, I did a one-character play up here in Tiffany 6 years ago. We were supposed to open on 9/11 that night, and we had canceled. The play also was written for me, and also somewhat about me, because I talk about my mom a lot.
Who wrote it? Or you wrote it?
No, I didn't write it. The writer was bad.
That's okay.
Blocked
Did he do a good job?
He needed to do more work.
He needs to do more work. So it never opened.
You know, yeah, he needed to do more.
Do you teach at all?
I taught for a lot of years.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, because I was out here with a group that had like famous people in the group, John Voight and Richard Dreyfuss and all these guys many years ago, and we were all studying with the same teacher. The teacher decided to go back to New York, and we looked at each other and said, what are we going to do? I said, well, let's all meet together and continue this philosophy. There was a particular acting philosophy. And then one day, Mr. John Voight, or one of the class members, said, David, why don't you moderate and become the moderator?
Oh.
I said, oh, no, we'll pay you.
Is that right? So you turned out to be an acting teacher?
And I just fell into it that way. And because this class was filled with, I'm not going to name drop.
Oh, but go on. We like name droppers.
Do you?
Yeah, we love it.
Okay, Terry Garr.
I love Terry. She's a great.
Sweetest. I love her.
We were just talking about her last night. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she was my scene partner for many years.
Oh,
we were in
really?
class together. A girl by the name of Tony Basil was one.
I know Tony, too. I know those girls. Terry Garr spoke at my kids' graduation at Marymount School because we needed a celebrity. So Terry came and spoke at their graduation. She's great. Tony Basil, how good is she?
Amazing talent. Amazing talent.
Oh, so keep name dropping.
Okay, who was in the class? Richard Dreyfuss, Dean Stockwell, Alan Garfield, who's become very ill. A wonderful actor. Then Richard Baymer, I don't know if you know.
Yes, of
you
course.
Do? Yeah,
yes.
of course, yeah.
West
Side Story.
West Side Story. Those were the good old days that you're talking about, aren't they?
Really, really wonderful talent. And all these guys were in this one group, and then I took over, and the group built because suddenly I look back and there's just so many people there, but I realized they're there because the movie stars are there.
Oh.
No, really, it's, you know, and not there for the right reasons, sitting in the room.
But you were the teacher, and you had to make it the right reasons, and I'm sure you did.
I hope so. But I never considered myself a teacher because I
okay.
had these heavyweights in this room.
I see.
Just powerful talent.
You called it moderator.
Yeah, I call it moderator or referee.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I can't teach these people.
Referee, we're back to Requiem, and we're back to Sonny Liston. Referee. Goodbye.
Bye.
David, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're adorable.
Thanks for watching. Keep writing. J.A. Quinn 1 at AOL and 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor. See you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.